Welcome back to the MVP Real Estate Podcast, Season 3, Episode 22. We have Shay back with her partner, Shane, out of the Milwaukee area. So not only a local investor, but we've got a tandem group here who is exploding in the Milwaukee market. So Shay, welcome back. Shane, nice to meet you. Thanks for giving us the time on the show.
Thanks, Marcus.
We are going to go in. I know, Shay, you already did your introduction last show, but for the listeners, you can give a brief summary. And then Shane, the other side of the business, kind of give us your background. I know when Shay was on the first time, I always ask the question, like, what led you to get here? What did you do in your past, either personal or business, to lead you to get into real estate? Because what I found is people are teachers or firefighters, or I traveled for 4 years and I came back and got into real estate. It's all diverse in terms of where you came from. So Shay, give us a little bit of a background, and then Shane, dive into your background, and then we'll get into how you guys keep things running on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, I'll be happy to. Once again, I am Shay. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. I'm an investor in the Milwaukee market. I've been investing for 5 years. I am self-made, self-taught, and I've been expanding. So I'm also a licensed real estate agent in Milwaukee, and I specifically work with investors now. So that's something new since the last time I talked to you guys. I've actually been taking on more clients, working with investors, and really looking to expand my portfolio in Milwaukee. So that's a little bit about me. Shane, I'm happy to have here, who is also an investor, and I'll let him take it from here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shane. A little bit about me. As it stands, I'm our property manager. I own an LLC. It's called Acero Property Management. And then I'm the chief operating officer for Shay's company, REI Platform. So I like to say that my partner Shay, she's a dreamer and she has the big ideas. So she's very smart, and I'm a maximizer. So I hear these ideas and I'm trying to like make the best out of it, expand it, figure out where I fit in there, just because I can take ideas and augment them. So early on, since I was a kid, I always fixed things on my own. Like I fixed my own car. I fixed like the house technology, like we break iPhones or whatever. So I always fix things. And then in my career, I went into IT. I did management for a while. I was like manager of like little jobs here and there, entry level jobs. But then I got into college and I went to IT. So I like to fix things. I like to create systems. I'm all about being proactive. And I think that's what really like allowed me to grow into this role of being a property manager. Shay had these properties and it was scaling quickly, and we needed to be able to maintain them and be organized. So I created the LLC just as a face for the company, right? So they're not calling our direct phone. We set up our company phone, we set up company email, created a portal for all the tenants to host all their files and pay their rent, stuff like that. And we leverage the Google Suite. So like your Google Docs, your Google Sheets, Google Drive, we got a folder for every address, stuff like that. Just creating systems and then improving them. I think that's really where I fit in this partnership. Stop me if I'm on a roll here, if I'm answering your question.
No, I'm writing down notes. I'm writing down notes because you've said so many things that are the same thing that like I went through. As a kid, I tinkered. Me and my brother would be downstairs, and obviously we'd roughhouse and we'd blow a hole in the drywall.
No.
And I'd have to tinker to figure out how to fix it. Any like machine we had in the garage that was broken, I'm going to take it apart. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to take it apart and try to fix it. Yeah. So like, as you were talking about that, I was like, man, I had the same childhood, like always fixing, and I have no idea what I'm doing. My dad's record player broke. I'm 10 years old. I have no idea what a record player is. Let's take it apart. I don't know. And then exactly. I was going to touch on your CRM portal, because that was a huge thing for me, for the tenants paying and documents being sent, hours of savings.
Right.
So it does come with the cost. So for those new investors that come in, a good CRM is probably going to cost you a monthly subscription fee. But in terms of like the the mental savings you're going to have, it's well worth it.
I'll say that what we use is apartments.com. It's good for a small scale. You know, I think if we were we're really hoping to expand. So once we break like probably 20, they say like between 20, 50, you really got to start paying and using like a more involved CRM. But right now, Apartments does it for us. And then we got our own like background systems with the Google. So we're able to maintain that way.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of finalize a thought here, you mentioned like growing up, like tinkering and fixing things. That's what really led me to be like Shay's handyman at first. You know, she had the properties and I always fix things myself. I never pay a mechanic or whatever. So I hated seeing these bills. And I was like, whoa, like I can fix this, you know? And so it started off with me getting on a ladder or like telling Shay, why don't you just buy me this tool and I'll do it for you. And so we started off that way on that first property. And as we grew, it turned into like, well, I can do a lot of things. So I would say for the newbies out there, like it's not scary. You should try it. Yeah, it at least helped me like learn how long does it take to fix things and how expensive can it get. And then at this point, now I don't have time. Like now we're delegating things out, but at this point, I understand how much things cost. So when I'm getting quotes from these contractors, I know, you know, when they're trying to pull the fuzz over my eyes, or I know if this is a good deal, and I can look at their previous work and understand, okay, he does a clean job, versus like, oh, it was pretty messy. Like I don't know if he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So it was good to get my hands involved. And now at this point, now I can sit back and manage. Right now, I manage people, I manage properties, and I manage projects.
Yep. Yeah, and that's really like the key of it, at least from what I've found. Because Shay, being the agent for investors, like you live that world, so you can communicate with them, say I know what you're looking for, so you can help them find it. Shane, you can come in with the repairs. Hey, I know the scope of work. I know how long this is supposed to take. I know how much materials are supposed to cost. So if I extrapolate those out, I know what labor is going to cost, and that is just way too high. So being in the business, living it, makes it so much easier. And it is a scale like what you guys were talking about. Me and my team, the first rental we picked up, we did the roof with roofing nails and a hammer because I did not have a roofing nail gun. So we did this whole, it was a house, maybe 850, 900 square feet. We had to do half of the roof, but we did it with hammers and nails. And the guys still to this day give me crap because I didn't get them a nail gun. And I'm like, hey, we're just starting. I don't have the money for the tool. Yeah. I don't want to invest in it. I don't know how much roofing we're going to do, but we get through that one. We cash out and I'm like, okay, now I can get those better tools because those tools make the job go better. Have I done masonry work before I started this? Absolutely not. I've done like 4 or 5 on my own basements, bathrooms where I've had to break through and re-concrete. The only way I learned to do that is self-taught, like Shay, you were talking about, self-taught, YouTube University. If anybody hasn't enrolled yet, please put in your application, go to YouTube U. They'll teach you what you need to know.
Immediately.
Yeah, it's amazing how much is out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's like 3 people on Instagram that I follow religiously, and I'll go through all of their new posts because all they do is like, hey, you've never tiled a bathroom before? This is how you do it.
Yeah, those videos are addicting. I absolutely love watching them. It's so interesting, and it's like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought it would be done like that. They make it look so simple. So it really is helpful. And getting in there and actually doing stuff is the best way to learn. You know, if you're there and you have to fix something and you have to do it now, that's like the best way that you learn. Because me and Shane, like, we'll both get involved, right? We both were renovating like our 5 units at the same time. Like it was like sun up to sundown. It was both of us, you know, so we'll get in some outlets, we'll get in some plumbing stuff, you know, we'll figure out what needs to be outsourced. But if we're both there and available, we got 4 hands, we've got to get it done. You know, because we want to get this ready so that we don't have a vacancy. So while we do have our roles, I will say our roles do intersect quite a bit because sometimes both of us need to get involved, you know, but primarily, like Shane said, he's the property management, you know, he is, if a tenant has a concern, Shane will be the one that will go and address it. I typically will stay back and pay the bill. Depending on, I'll pay the bill. And then I feel like right now, my primary job is like figuring out where all the funds are going to go. So I really stay back. I have, all the money. I figure out what projects, the money is going to be allocated to, as well as finding new acquisitions, finding deals, getting us in there. That's really what I do. So it's been very helpful because we've been, our roles are really kind of designated based off of our skill level. Like Shane said, I am a visionary. I'm always thinking 5 years ahead, right? So sometimes it's hard for me to come present. Shane is like in this moment type of person, he is able to, I'll have a very vague idea and he will make it concrete, and he'll figure out what we need to do now, while I'm business planning in the background. So we complement each other really well.
Yeah, and you need that. I mean, there's going to be so much handoff on work that to have your right-hand man is so important. And I wanted to dive into that because with the crossover, like it has to happen. Do you guys, I know you said you had the CRM for your tenants. Do you have like a CRM or some way that you guys communicate, or how do you guys, all right, I've got to hand this over to Shane. How do you deliver that message? How does he deliver the message back that's complete, or the stage?
Yeah. So it's really easy for us because we live together and we're engaged. So
that works.
It's like a literal handoff, he'll hand me something. He's been trying to get on me because like I be losing things and I forget stuff. So he gives me a kiss. Oh, thank you, boo. We just are different.
You relationship goal.
I know, he's such a sweetheart. Every time he's talking, I'm just like hard eyes. Okay. But it's really easy because we live together. So and we're working on that piece because we're really trying to compartmentalize, right? So we don't need to be talking about properties at 1 o'clock in the morning like we have. Like we're both really passionate about it. We're passionate about our business, but we're really trying to compartmentalize and separate it. So, trying to get out of our last property right now. This is the house hack. This is Shane's property that we live in now. So we're really trying to get out of this, separate ourselves from the tenants and get some of our sanity and our peace back, So that's what we're trying to do now because we've sacrificed for a very long time. We've sacrificed our time, a little bit of our privacy, and now we're at the point where we get to enjoy the fruits of our labor and we're ready, to sit back and be comfortable for a while. But we're still investing, but like we're taking that step back and we're like at that delegation phase where we don't want to be as involved. Quite honestly, I'm at the point where I'll just put the money up and I want the project to get done. I'll have oversight, but I don't need to be boots on the ground every single day, involved at this point. So Shane, did you want on any of that I just said? It was kind of a lot.
You guys are doing long-term rentals, right?
Yes, we are trying. We are trying to do long-term deals. I've written 4 offers and I haven't gotten any long out of state. So that's what I want to tell you guys about too. We were talking about the out of state deal last time.
Right.
This was in January.
Right?
Yes, St. Louis. Yes, I just signed an offer last week, but no, the market's gotten really competitive. So I am still at that waiting point. Unfortunately, I do not have a deal yet. I've tried to get 4 of them, but I'm at the point where I've maybe like 1 or 2 left that I'll sign. And if those fall through, I'll have to like move markets. So I was really excited about it, but I think the market's like since shift since we last spoke, but I've been unable to acquire a deal. So I may have to switch my strategy. So I do have a team down there and everything, and they're looking at properties, they're sending them over, but we keep losing the deal. It's gotten really competitive down there. And I think that's like been the last, I want to say 7 or 8 months, it's gotten that way. So we'll have to see.
Oh, sorry. What's really cool, and I wanted to point out for the new investors that are coming in, you have your market, but you're not, it sounds like you're not diverting from your numbers. I'm going to hit these numbers and this is where it's going to be. You're not going to force like, okay, well, they want an extra couple thousand. I'm going to go there, but it's going to hurt our numbers. Nope. It's not worth it. I'm telling you, it's not worth it. The numbers are the numbers.
It is.
You have to like bring the emotions back out of it and just go with your numbers into it to make sure you get into a good deal. So I just wanted to point that out. Kudos to you for sticking your guns.
Yeah. And I'd have to agree with you 100% because I've gotten impatient, like I've gotten so impatient and it's like, oh, maybe I should maybe move up like another, 2,500. I'm like, nope, absolutely not. The papers and the analysis is there. It's the raw numbers. It's not going to work. No matter how hard you try to push it, you need a little bit of margin, and you can't just like exceed that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm trying to balance being impatient and wanting to invest, but also, being smart. And I know the numbers. That's one thing that I do know. So I just may have to switch strategies, which is fine, but I will do something before the end of the year. So I'm waiting. I've got another month in me in the St. Louis market. I think there's still potential. I may get one deal down there. I may not. But at this point, there's a lot of investors down there, you guys. Like, oh my gosh. They've caught on to the St. Louis market. Yes, they've caught on to it because they're buying up all the properties down there. So they're much larger than me. So I may not have the opportunity to really get one, which is fine. But I'm glad I at least tried. I would say I at least tried. I tried to get out of state. It may not happen. It might. So we'll see.
May not happen yet. It will happen.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen.
Hey, Marcus.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add to that without getting too far off topic. She talked about knowing what your margins are, and I think it's important to understand like knowing your bandwidth, or like knowing how much you can take on. We learned that last year when we were renovating 5 properties and we had vacancies and we were doing open houses and we had budgets made. Like, we make very conservative budgets, and now we're budgeting our time because we start running out of time. We were exhausted, and I think that's important for like beginners. Like, maybe you got your first couple of properties and you want to expand. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because like we want to take over the world, and we had to slow down and improve our existing processes. So then we talk about like creating systems. When we reconcile all of our paperwork and our receipts and stuff, we have like a day out of the month to do that. She talked about compartmentalization. So it's not like every night we're thinking about all these bills we got to pay and we got to put all these receipts together for tax season and stuff. Like, we just do it all on one day. It's reconciliation. We organize all our files in one day. We keep it tight. We're trying to tighten up, so that way we're better prepared to take on what's next, instead of like being scattered across all these projects and ideas. So I just wanted to chime in there and say that. So now we're talking about expanding into St. Louis, but we reached that point because we're organized, and we're ready to take that next step.
Yeah, organization is big. And now you guys have 2 things to organize. You have the field to organize with all the projects and rehabs, and you have your back office to organize. So both of you, I'm sure, respectively head out each department, where Shane, you've got your cleanup on your field and your rehabs and stuff. And Shay, you kind of lead the organization in the office.
Well, she was saying that she's not like, I'm more organized, we'll say. So
is this going to start a battle? Is this going to be like a lover's quarrel of who's organized?
He is way more organized than me. I am not afraid to say it. Like, I'm just not, it's not my strength. And so we complement each other very, very well. Shane's very organized. We're coming to the point where, we have family members that'll help us too. Like Shane, I don't know if you want to talk about your mom. She helps us with, as far as like actually putting it like accounting stuff, like, and we'll organize all the receipts, but now we're at the point where like we'll hand it off to her and she happily like puts it in, the receipts of what our expenses were for the month. So we'll do that. We'll have people like we're expanding to the point where we're bringing more people on, which is really exciting for us because we do get some of that time back. And like I said, we sacrificed for so long. So I'm grateful that we've reached this point, and I'm so excited to continue real estate investing. I'm excited for Shane, for him to continue real estate investing too. And we both get, more properties under our belt. We've kind of got that where, okay, do we want to get married now? Are we waiting? Because sometimes it's better to keep the income separate, just to be honest, from a financial perspective. So we're kind of weighing all those options as well. We think we might want to get another property under Shane before we like put our income together. So we're kind of doing a lot of planning on that end of what we're going to do for the next year or so.
Yeah.
So
that's a big thing to look at, especially with an investor, numbers wise, and how that works in terms of single or married income.
Woo! Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Oh yeah. It
And I don't
definitely
know
does.
if we
So-
mentioned either, but I think it's important to mention that, but Shane and I still work full-time jobs. Like, we are both still full-time employed. So that's why we keep bringing up the time thing, right? Because we still don't have our W-2 commitments, as well as now all these properties and tenants that we're managing. So it is a lot to juggle. But we're at a good place right now. Well, really, because we're not renovating 5 units. This time last year, that's what we were doing. And it was awful. But now, we're just working through some things. We're in the middle of an eviction right now, so we'll just be honest about
geez.
that.
Do you
that's what I
guys,
meant
do
when
you
I
guys
said
feel good
it's a lot
enough to
going
get
on.
into the eviction? You don't have to obviously give out too much information, but
Right.
I mean, not to beat around the bush, but a lot of people don't want to get into real estate because they're like, I'm gonna have to evict tenants
Yeah.
because here we are. So
Mhm.
what has gone into that one? Is it a looming COVID non-payment, or are we past that, or how does that all fit in?
Okay, I'll give a summary of what's happened. So it's a tenant that we've had where they've been consistently late on the rent. It's a month-to-month tenant. And it came to the point where it's more chasing, and I don't have time for that. I can understand if you have hard times and you're being late, but not like working with us and not being communicative, is a no-go for me, because that's more time we spend chasing one person. We don't have this issue with the other tenants. So it came to the point where it was it wasn't bad, but I just, I gave her a 45-day notice that she had to vacate. And it was funny because like when we were speaking to other investors, they were like, wow, I've never seen anybody do a 45-day. They're like, you guys are generous. And I'm like, yeah, because, I'm not upset, but I'm just ready to, to move on and find somebody, because obviously she can't afford the unit anymore. So I don't want to struggle through this for the rest of the year where we're having issues with her paying the rent. So it came to the point, 45-day notice, that ended on May 31st. So, and then like, we heard nothing from her through like the entire 45 days. And it was like on May 31st, she was like, I'm not leaving. I'm like, okay, well, on June 1st, I was at the courthouse and I said, okay. And that was one thing. I may be disorganized, but one thing I'm really good at is I'm a good record keeper. Like I keep good records. I'm good at writing, communication, making it very clear. And I'm good at that point. Cause my day job is I work in HR. So when it comes to keeping records and stuff, like that is up my purview. Mm-hmm. So, I was at the courthouse. I went there first thing in the morning. They gave it to me. I was like, okay, it was my first time doing it. So obviously I'm doing a lot of research. Like, what do I have to do? But I had everything that I needed to have that day, and they gave me the court date. So right now we're in that interim period. It took about 6 days to serve the paper. So we had to get a process server. It actually happened on the first attempt. So that's the part that I was worried about, because I'm like, okay, what if she starts dodging the process server? Then that's going to delay everything. But she ended up getting served the papers. So I said, I'll give her one last opportunity to leave and I'll drop the eviction. We gave her to June 12th. So right now we're looking at Sunday. Where if she's not out by Sunday, then I'm going to proceed with the eviction. So that's what happened in a nutshell.
Man, well, I'm sorry to hear that you guys go through that, but hopefully it goes as smoothly as an eviction can go.
I hope so, and I understand like this, it comes with the territory, I figured, we're scaling. We can't expect all the tenants to be perfect, no matter how, thorough our screening process is. It still can happen. So I'm just glad. I'm kind of like thanking myself at how good at record keeping that I am, because it's really going to help. And when we have the court date, it's going to show everything. Like we've tried to communicate to her. It's showing that she's not responsive. We've tried to work with her, and that's going to show clearly in the documentation that we're able to provide. I feel very confident that she's going to have very little to no defense based off of how things have occurred. So she's just gonna have to leave the property. All I want is the property back. That's it. Yeah. So.
And that's a good point, is keeping records. Especially now everything's digital. It's not like you need a big file cabinet in your house. Nope. If you have a question, if you should keep it or not, keep it. Start a folder in your Google Drive. You guys use Google Suites too. Start a folder, put it in there. Like you don't know when you're gonna need it. It doesn't take up any space. Just keep it. I'm the same way with communication. just keep it in a tucked away in a folder in case something happens. All about like, there's a lot of risk in investing. So you might as well keep everything for any, I don't want to call it leverage, but I mean, your record keeping, anything you have to protect yourself, keep it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have like, the time and date, like camera app too. Like I take pictures of everything. I like with a date stamp, like that's one thing too. Because we, even before like we came to the eviction, we had to do some 5-day notices on her because she just didn't pay rent. So it's like, 5 days, pay or quit. And I'm just like, the notice is certified mail, we'll put it on the door, we'll do the timestamp, so we're absolutely certain, I don't want to leave no room for ambiguity. I want everything to appear very clear. So like, I'm almost paranoid about it. Like Shane, he'll be like, okay, we don't need to do all that now. But I'm like, no, we do. But, it's always saved my back. I feel like, I thank myself because I was going to give her a little bit more leeway, but Shane kind of talked me out of it. I'm like, maybe we should do a 60-day. He's like, nope. He's like 45-day. I'm like, okay, we'll do 45-day. I'm so glad that we did because I honestly thought she was gonna leave. I did. I thought she was gonna leave. I did not think she was gonna stay in the property after we told her to leave. So I'm glad that we did how we did it.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I know we talked in the first episode about bigger pockets and listening to that. And one of the horror stories that I think it was David Green shared, but he started taking a tenant's payment with cash. And he will never do that again. And that was like my big thing. I'm like, okay, I'm not taking cash or checks. It's all online so that everything is time-stamped when the payment came in. We're not touching hand. There's no lost money. And that was another thing of like, okay, liability, just pay it online. I'm not going to take a check. I'm not taking cash. Don't drop it in my mailbox.
Please don't.
Yeah, just pay it online. Everybody has a card these days. Or go to Pick and Save and buy a prepaid and pay with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. We got to figure it out.
I agree. I don't like that either. I'm a person that will, if you give me rent money, I will probably lose it. Like I can't just be holding on hundreds of dollars, like I can't.
Yeah. And now it runs the risk of like, all right, I get the rent payment on the 31st, but I don't run to the bank until the 3rd. And now there's like that date gap of like, okay, it was received, but not deposited. And I don't want to mess with that.
Nope, I agree. Much. No, I'd have to agree with you. I admire that.
Shane, so on the whole operations side of this eviction, is there things that are put on your plate in terms of now you're looking at, okay, we're going to get the eviction going. She's supposed to be out by this date. Is there cleaning that needs to go on? Or the repairs that need to go on? How does that all play into getting this thing back up and running so you can rent it again and get back on that nice, easy path of tenants?
Well, we gotta rewind a little bit. I saw this coming a while back, right? So I'm the property manager. So I'm, giving Shay this information about her properties. Likewise, like when we have deferred expenses, like I let her know when, okay, we're gonna have to replace this furnace soon, right? I'm reviewing this kind of information about all the properties. I knew that this was coming. We had been talking about it for a while. I said, it's gonna come down to asking her to leave. So last year we moved her to a month-to-month. And then, the problem just kind of continued to escalate. And as we got closer, I have like built-in, I have built-in inspections, right? So when I went to that property in particular, I was taking a lot of pictures. Like Shay said, we use a timestamp. Whenever I'm in a property and I'm taking pictures of things, I'm getting timestamp photos. Your documentation is really important. So I was just really building a case, right? Building up evidence. It sounds like a harsh word, but that's really what it is. Like if it ever were to go to court, you want to make sure that your evidence and your documentation is on point. So
I mean, the tenant may not like it, but you're protecting your asset.
Right.
Exactly. So just like if this was my house and there were things that were broken, I would make notes on it. So it's not a personal thing.
Yeah.
It's just protecting your asset.
Things, checking like the plumbing and stuff. Just we want to have timestamp flows. Okay, everything was in good condition the last time I was there. It was all official, right? Now when we go back in, I'm bringing my handyman. He's a plumber by trade. He's gonna do a very thorough inspection of all the pipes and stuff. Just kind of, make sure everything's in working order. So that way we don't find out when it's too late that now there's been, foul play, or now things were broken before I could identify it and figure out what we're gonna do with security deposit, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
a very thorough inspection. When anybody moves out, honestly, you're inspecting everything heavily. But in the case of the eviction, we want to make sure that all of our paperwork is in order for if we have to follow through with that complaint.
Yeah. So hopefully the whole unit turnover once she's gone is going to go smoothly for you. Were there any big ticket items that you guys got to worry about, or is it mainly just a payment, I'll say back office disagreement?
I would say it's more of a, she didn't want to leave and we, we had her leave. We asked her to leave. She didn't want to leave. That's the disagreement on it. She always paid her rent. It was just always really late. So it's not a non-payment issue. It's just a leaving when I asked you to leave issue at this point. So I still keep it the best. Shane, he keeps me a little bit level-headed because I still think the best of people, So but Shane, he was right. He did see it coming before I ever did. He is absolutely right about that. I typically see the good in people. I can't help it. I work in social services. I'm an HR. I work for a social services nonprofit agency. Like I'm typically a person where, I believe in the good in people. And sometimes it's not always the best way to think, to be quite honest, I'm very thorough and I'm evidence-based, but I do, still have hope in people. I still think that she'll leave by Sunday. We'll see. But Shane, I don't know what Shane thinks. I don't know if I got
Shane's over there shaking his head. No, it's not gonna happen.
The thing, I'm like, okay, but I'm at the point where, if it has to be taken to court, then so be it. We'll handle our business and we'll get the property back one way or another. It just may not be as soon as we think, but there's not really any big ticket items. It's a really valuable asset. It's a newer house. It has a lot of equity in it. So it is like one of my best properties that I have. So I'm hoping that it'll go over smoothly. If not, we'll be fine and we'll handle whatever it is. But I don't think she'll damage it, but it's all speculative at this point. We don't know what'll happen.
Yeah. And then you guys already had said that you guys have apartments.com as your CRM, which obviously they do marketing for any vacancies you can put through. I know the service that I use is Hemline, and they use apartments.com as well. So as soon as I have a unit out, and it's as easy as all of the bio and things we've written on that stays on there. I just toggle a switch over and it goes live and goes on the market. I'm assuming that directly through apartments.com, it's the same process.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's going to be a Shane thing.
Yeah. So actually, I paid my mom to help us with that now, because early on we were sorting through all these. We learned that you can't just post it, and like if you just post it and leave it there, you won't necessarily get like follow through from people who want to apply. Like if you post it on Facebook Marketplace, there's a button you can click that says, "Is this still available?"
Yep.
We'll get hundreds of those.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not sorting through them at all. So we just put it in the description, like email us, at our email address, and then you can get more information. We start putting like extra steps in front of them, so that way whoever is actually serious will get an email from them.
Yeah.
And at this point, we have hundreds of emails. So my mom sorts through them for us.
Can I tell you guys about I guess it's a CRM that I discovered the other day. It's called Turbo Tenant, and it's a because they have like their background checks and an application all cohesive in it, and it made the process so simple for another gal I work for. It was phenomenal.
And what was it called?
It's called Turbo Tenant, and it lists your property on like dozens of other websites as well. So it's free. I think you can upgrade for a very nominal monthly fee, but it's been amazing. We're actually switching over from she used to use Tenant Cloud. We're switching over from Tenant Cloud to Turbo Tenant because it's just that much better.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah, the ones with the
choice
background checks involved are great. I know Hemline does that too. You can apply, it'll send you the application, and then there's like a $35 background check fee, which I tell them like, hey, if you get accepted, it gets reimbursed on the first month rent. But I do set up those little, I'll call them speed bumps. Like you're going to have to work through a couple speed bumps to get here, because if you can work through these speed bumps, you're going to be a good tenant. If you get stopped at the first road bump and you're like, I can't do it. Good. I don't know what to tell you. it's probably not going to be a good relationship. So
No.
Hey, Natasha,
Yeah.
when you're using these portals and you're having the background check done through them, are you showing the unit before you collect this?
Nope.
Or are they allowed to apply beforehand?
They have to apply to show that they're serious about using the portal. And then once we look at their background, then we'll show the property, and then we kind of just go through the background check and see who's the best fit for us.
Right. Okay. Yeah. See, we kind of like pre-screen, but we don't hand out an application until they've visited the property. Like, you have to see the property, otherwise you won't get an application.
Yeah, it's not my decision, it's my boss's. So I really I'm like going with whatever her flow is, and she and because
And we're still tweaking it too. It isn't necessarily perfect yet. You know, we've improved it a lot over the past like 4 years. Like, so, but we're still working on it. We've got our process. You know, we don't really do individual appointments anymore. People don't show up. Like, oh my gosh, like people do not show up. It was just like a lot of wasting of time and trying to trial and error, but we've got it to a point where we're pretty secure in our process, but always looking for other ideas too. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure. She's down in Florida. So I think I got 300 responses in like 2 days. And I'm going through all of these, like, just like what I did. I just like copy and pasted a response on Facebook. I'm just like, nope, you have to do this. You have to do this. Like,
yes.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
Automation.
And you put it in the description, like, not going to reply to, is this available?
I know.
And if they don't read that,
right,
we're good.
They
it's
don't read.
right there. The instructions are. We learned that, like, speaking of last day of school, you learn that in first grade. Like, you read the instructions first before you go on and do your homework. You can't be 35, 40 years old, and we're still not reading the instructions of what we have to do for your living. Like, those are just things you have to do. Shane, I was going to ask you a question. What went into your decision of you need to view the property before you get the application? Because I mean, it's a toss-up, 50-50. Some people hand out applications like candy. Some withhold it before they meet them. Some withhold it and they just do it at the background check. So I've seen it a whole different number of ways. And there's no right way, there's no wrong way. But in your process, what went into you guys deciding, all right, we're going to show the property first, then application, then background?
Well, I'll kind of explain how I understand it, and then Shay can chime in. Early on, we didn't necessarily understand like the market, or like, you know, who was actually going to be applying. And the people that did apply, they weren't filling out the application properly. They weren't like completing all steps. And so it came to the point where it's like, I need you to show up here, present yourself, and then there's like a checklist of items I need, such as like your photo ID or whatever. If I don't have all that, I'm not collecting the application fee and I'm not going to process it. And it kind of just, it helped us see who was serious. And then it helped us kind of sort through like, all right, I'm here. This is your opportunity to ask questions that you have, because I'm not going to sort through these thousands of emails. Like, I'm not, you know, at this point we got my mom helping, but you know, that's their opportunity. Like I set windows, like, come here, you can talk to the property manager, you can look at it, ask any questions you have. It allows us to kind of understand what questions they have, right? It's almost like market research in my eyes. We get them here, we figure out what they want, what has caught their focus, and then like, where are they having trouble with our process, with our application, or where did you find this listing, right? We're all over the internet. So asking them like, where did you see this? And they're like, oh, Zillow, or oh, Facebook. Just kind of learning that kind of stuff. That was like early on, but now we're kind of automating that. And I'll let Shay go ahead and say why we started it and what she thinks about it now.
Yep. The reason why is people do feel some type of way about taking their money, and I'm not taking your money if you really don't qualify. You know, I'm just not gonna do it. Like, if your income isn't there, or you're like missing a photo ID, like, I'm not gonna take your money until like I can at least very briefly view this application. Okay, they got everything in and they're interested. The other reason too is I like for people to see the property. I like for them to see, I like for them to ask questions on the spot. You know, I want to make sure that they're invested in, because the way that we have it, we kind of A lot of people just kind of let themselves out of the process because it's not as big as, oh, the pictures looked bigger than what I thought or something like this.
Yeah.
So that there's a lot of people that are just in and out, which is totally fine, right? They didn't like it. But the people that are, we also get that first impression of them on the spot, of who they are. And I'll remember them. I'll remember the person who gave the good first impression and they'll submitted everything on time. They followed the directions. I'll remember them because those are the people that I'm going to want in my unit. We've had some really crazy people show up at the open houses. I'm like, oh my God, this is a no. We've had some crazy run-ins with people. I'll tell a story. It was one person who came to an open house and she was fine. She took a look at the unit. She was like, I need somewhere to go right away because my daughter is in jail for stabbing our landlord and we have to be out. But she was like, she's in jail right now. So I'm filling out an application for myself and I'm filling out an application for her. So I'm just like, okay, thank you for that information. But that sounds like a lot.
Hard no on that one.
Yes, you'll see so many people in these open houses. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that.
Man, that's a head scratcher.
Let themselves out of the process. They will disqualify themselves sometimes, by certain things. Obviously we're abiding by, the federal housing guidelines and all that too, but still that first impression is really important.
It is. And when I first started, I was, sorry if you can hear my dog, he's coming around. His collar is super loud. When I first started, I was taking everybody who viewed it and wanted to come take a look. I was like, yep, come by, I'll be over there. I think obviously one person out of how many people got the unit. And I was like, man, I went through 50 showings. That was a complete waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, application first, tell me your income, tell me where you think your credit score is. It doesn't need to be hard numbers, but give me something. And then it's like, okay, these people can come through. And then from there, it's like, oh, now let's do the background check where you're actually going to put up money. Let's see if you can put that stuff in correctly. Once they get that in correctly, the pool gets shrunk down. So it was a lot less effort on my part to have them do the application first. I could see kind of on paper who they were. And then we go view the apartment. They like it. Okay, here's step 2 in the process. And some people are like, how many steps do you have? And I'm like, I understand that there's steps, but you have to understand on my side, I get 100 people commenting on this. I can't do 100 people. I can only do handle the 10 people that are going to do this correctly. And then out of that 10, right, obviously the top person wins, I guess, if we're going to make it a competition. But it definitely, it went down the funnel way quicker and way easier for me to say, here's the application first, then I'll show you the apartment. And once you start with Shane, with you doing the property management, let's say, Shay, you start getting these investors, they buy a house from you and you're like, hey, talk to Shane, we can start managing your property if you're out of state. Now you have 100 units and you're showing 100 people, 100 different units. It's going to get so big that you don't want to hire somebody out to do that because now you're paying for fluff. They're not going to convert tenants in. So you have to try to drill down as much as you can to make it as efficient. And unfortunately, you have to set up processes. And some people don't like doing it because you want everybody to get the opportunity, which you do, but that doesn't mean it's a cakewalk and then you just waste all of your time to do it. So
yeah,
there's a lot of mental battles going on with how are we going to field applications, and you obviously want to be respectful to everybody applying, but at the end of the day, one person's going to win and the other people can't.
Right. The best and qualified applicant is what's ultimately, the person that's going to get the unit. So yeah. And I love the explanation you gave too, because that's the business model that we are trying to build. I want to take on the investors, that are looking to invest in Milwaukee. Shane is going to be looking to take on property management clients at this point as well. So that's what we're looking to, grow in the business. I absolutely love working with investors. That's something that is really important to me. Shane is naturally good at what he does, so I think that this is something that we're going to build our model with and continue to grow while we're growing our rental business as well. So you summed it up pretty well when you explained that. That's something that we're both really excited about.
You know, I enjoy doing the showings, and I'm not concerned about like our conversion. Like we don't have trouble filling vacancies. So we find value in having me there, right? Like we had explained. But to Shay's point, and to your point, that's exactly what we're doing, right? Shay's the agent. We're building a network. I'm the property manager. I have the network of contractors and handymen. So, you know, I'm building a website right now. I want to be open to clients, right? We've been managing our own properties for over 4 years now. So now I'm ready to take on more clients. And I'm really excited for it, actually. I don't know how many properties you have, Marcus. I believe, Natasha, you have a rental as well?
I have a rental. It's a long-term rental out in Oregon. I work for another lady down in Florida that has a bunch of rentals and Airbnbs.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And how about you, Marcus?
We own 5 rentals, and then we've done 3 flips.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. So we do the property management, we do the construction. I'm jealous of you guys because you have 2 heads to my 1. So I would love to have like the partner that I could delegate one whole half. But I mean, that was my whole reason for getting the foreman, because the flips, that is its own business. There's so many intricacies on that front that like I could not be in the field and answering emails and showing and dealing. I'm an agent and taking clients out for buyers and sellers. I just can't do it all. I'm currently looking for a full-time office manager. So to delegate that stuff, like the receipts and bookkeeping and phone calls and follow-up emails and responses to applications, all of that right now is on my head. So I'm looking to delegate that a little bit more. But yeah, as you go through, the more you can refine it in the back office for you two, it's going to make it cleaner. And the more and more units you have, the more and more your name gets out there, the easier it's going to get. And all those applications you've got who didn't get through, but were still applications, those aren't useless bits of information. Now you have a vacancy and you have a pool that you can email out and say, hey, we've got a vacancy coming up. You applied last year, your lease is probably a year, and say, hey, we're gonna have a vacancy, and then you can bring them back in if they're interested. So
actually, we have a form they fill out, and it asks a few primer questions like how many bedrooms are you interested in, that kind of information, and we retain that information. So we have like a huge list, like hundreds of contacts. We just emailed them recently because we have a new unit coming up in August. So we let them know, hey, by the way, if you're still interested, we'll be sending you information coming soon. And that was actually Shay's idea. You know, that comes down to like when we really stop and have to improve. That was exactly what we wanted to do, was capture this information and not lose, you know, all these people who absolutely could be a qualified tenant. We just didn't get to them.
Yep.
So good idea there.
The hands-on learning experience has been very critical. We learn everything and improve everything as we go. It's so good to be involved in you know, and knowing what to do and how to do it and learning as you go along the way. That is like the absolute key to my success. Is I learn very quickly. You know, and also having Shane on to help, I've been able to grow a lot bigger with his help, and also taking processes and learning, basically.
Yeah. And it's all an evolution. There's going to be things you go through, like this eviction. It's your first one going through it. It's going to be like a deer in the headlights. Like, I'm learning how I'm doing this too. And you're sitting across from your tenant that you're trying to evict. And it's like, this is my first time. But as you go through them, you're going to start refining that. So if it does happen again, you will be more prepared. It will come easier. It won't be as nerve-wracking. I remember the first time I lost a tenant, and it was on good terms. They're like, hey, I'm buying a house. And I'm like, obviously, congratulations. Like, I hate to see you go. They were the tenants that paid the day before, like the 31st of every month. It was like on point. I was like, I don't want you guys to go at all, but I want you guys to own a home because that's what you want to do. I'll give you your last month free. I'm an agent. So I was their agent finding their home, and I I basically said, you can have your last month free. I'll be your agent when you buy a house. So you subtract your rent payment, but you make your commission. So you still make money on it. Plus it was helping them because, okay, your offer is going to be here, which is where your closing date is, but you need a couple extra day. Convenient for you. I know the landlord. We can work with you here. So it was like it made so much sense to carry it through. Unfortunately, when they were looking was through like the height of 30,000 over and 40, and they found a house up in Winona. So I'm not driving up to Winona, but it's one of those situations where like there's still areas where you can help out even after they're leaving. So it as you get through it, you get more and more creative and more ways to make money and help people out. And that's what I'm excited for you to, as you guys completely like create and hone in on your systems, where else you can take this. Because Shay, you've got the office down. Shane, it looks like you've got the field and the property management stuff down. And there's so much more you guys can tap into, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, it's gonna be quitting our jobs next. That's what's gonna be next.
Who's going first? Who's going first?
Shane is first. Shane is definitely first. We've already called it. I'm passionate about my job, so it'll be like a battle for me, an emotional battle. Shane, he likes his job, but I think he likes real estate investing more.
Is that true?
Yeah, I like everything about real estate investing. And like I said, I'm gonna be taking on clients for the property management. So I want that to grow into like a full-time capacity. That way I'm only focused on real estate, whether it's our own properties, taking care of somebody else's, networking with other investors and buyers, right? So now Shay's the agent. She can help them buy or sell. I'm helping them manage. I'm helping them renovate. I'm going for my GC license. I'm slowly taking the education courses. I don't have time at this moment, but I'm going to be getting my GC license this year, just so I can pull permits, and now I can present that to my clients, right? Because we've always been doing it in-house, but now I want to be able to do that for other people as well.
Yeah, that course is a snoozer. The state of Wisconsin, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But man, Shay, you took the agent license and you get nice videos and they talk to you and it's personable. The GC one is a little gray box in the top left of your screen. And it's like 160 questions of just code. Right. It is the most boring test I have ever taken. Oh my God.
When did you do yours, Marcus?
2 years ago.
You did 2 years ago? Okay.
Yeah, I would do my agency exam 4 times before I have to do the GC one again. That's how bad. I did not like that thing. It was just so boring. But the information you learn on it is great. So like as you do it, it's so much of a bonus. Because now, Shay, you've got a property that you're trying to isolate and purchase. Shane, you can come in and you're going to see so many things more than you already know now, just by reading and knowing the code, that you can go through and be like, hey, Shay, this is going to be a problem later. This is going to be a problem later. Right. This isn't done correctly. We're going to have to fix that. And that is going to make your numbers adjust a little bit, but you're going to know going in. So there's less of those question marks. So you guys are just cornering and creating like the hub.
Yeah. And wow, you got both of those. Congrats. I didn't know you were licensed as a GC too. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I just bought, because I'm crazy, I just bought The Ultimate Guide to Plumbing.
Oh, Jesus.
And
look at that.
The Ultimate Guide to Wiring. So I can hopefully do it all. That's my hope.
Oh yeah.
Wire electricity freaks me out. So this is more this is like my Don't Kill Yourself book.
There you go.
You should send me the link to those. I'd be interested.
Yeah, I haven't tapped into them yet, but I know I bought them on Amazon. These aren't the study guides. These are like my intros.
Yeah. So, I got plenty of books like that. So
they were like 10, 15 bucks on Amazon. Sure. But I'm hoping that if I read these and I can go in and take my test, it's going to be like that. This is like my kid tinkering that I was doing. I've got to do it reading now because I'm an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
Adult things.
So I'm absolutely interested. this book here from Bigger Pockets, been a
Got
game
that
changer
upstairs.
by Jay Scott. Yeah, game changer. This really helped early on when we were renovating all these projects and stuff. So I'm always trying to keep resources, right? Shay really got me back into reading. I'm actually more of like an ebook, right? Like I like to listen to it in the car.
Yeah.
But I used to hate reading. Like it's really hard for me to focus. I'm like too fast. Like it's really hard for me to like stop and just look at it. I don't know what it is about it. I like hated it. I hated how it made me feel uncomfortable. Like I couldn't focus. Seriously, I just couldn't focus. But when it's informational and I can apply it, like I'm in, right?
Yeah.
I think school discouraged me because I didn't care like what they were talking about. But this, I'm highly interested. It's engaging. So I'm absolutely, trying to get some books like you got going on.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I was not a reader in school. You couldn't catch me reading a book in high school. I read maybe 3, and they were the ones that were mandated by teachers. I just didn't read. I didn't want to read. Math was great. I loved math. I would do math all day. But like anything else, I didn't want to know about history. I didn't want to know about English. I didn't need to do art because I knew I was going to meet Natasha years later, and she can handle the art. And she handles the English for me too.
That's
That is true. But yeah, like I found my application. Like this stuff, I know I can read it and it's going to pay back. Like I'm going to get a payback on this stuff. It's too real to not do it. So this kind of reading, by all means, I'm all for it. I'll pick it up. And plus it's going to keep me safe because the amount of times I have to there's an electrical problem and I have to stand and I take a couple deep breaths and I'm like, oh, it's going to be okay. Turn off the main and then I keep going and every single time my heart skips a little bit because I just want to make sure it's safe. But I know that the GC, I know I ragged on a little bit that it's boring. Oh my gosh, the amount of useful information I've gotten out of that. As we got into our first flip was we were just going to add a second story. And it turns out we had to tear the whole thing down and start over. I had never built a house before from scratch. So to get in, have that GC stuff underneath me, have some knowledge of plumbing, have some knowledge of electrical, it made the process so much easier than, the first flip, I actually sat with the GC. So I got hands-on experience and that's what led me to get my own GC license. So, but man, it's useful. And I'm looking forward to you guys taking over the Milwaukee market because with the 2 heads you guys have going on and the focus that you guys have, and it seems like it cuts so clean where you guys can delegate and separate on the 2 halves you have. I'm looking for big things.
Wow. I thank you. I appreciate that. That is really kind of
I know you're going to invest in St. Louis. Stay in Milwaukee, please. We can't lose you guys.
I think we should. Yeah. It's still, it's a very profitable market. We are kind of sitting in the gym right here. There's a lot of out-of-state people that are really attracted to this market, right? So I do kind of want to keep it local, and keep investing in the area that I grew up in and that I know. So that's one thing, I don't plan on leaving Milwaukee anytime soon, which is a good thing.
Good. And I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point other than the podcast as we work in the same market. So looking forward to that one.
Would love to. And that's for the people listening too. I'll say one last thing. As you guys were speaking, you don't need to be good at school to be in order to be successful in what you do. You can find real estate investing, right? You can apply the skills and things that you're good at. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something or that you can't learn and you can't grow. You just have to have, the dedication and the willingness to learn. So, don't stop and make sure that you keep motivated because you absolutely can do it. There's so many people scared of real estate investing, but it really is not that bad.
Yeah, it's not.
It's scarier than what it is.
Yeah. And I'm helping a friend of mine who's helping me with my QuickBooks. It's kind of a trade-off. I help him. I'm finishing his basement. It was just concrete walls. So we finished it all. And he's helping organize my QuickBooks with cost codes. Cause we've got it to where now when the staff clocks in, they can clock in and say they're doing above grade framing or above grade drywall or below grade painting. So when I go to quote out renovations, I can pull in, it's going to take 10 hours, and QuickBooks will find its data, pull in and say like, all right, this is what your quote is going to be. So it's a hand in hand. But when I was over there last week, he was like, I don't get how you know how to do this stuff. And I didn't have a good answer because I don't know either. It just happened. I played with enough stuff. I broke enough things. I put enough things back together, and I want to. But my answer to him was like, I don't understand how you know QuickBooks. I don't get it. But he's tinkered enough. He worked in logistics. He's worked with CRMs. That's where his background is. Wherever you put your energy and wherever you put your want, like I want to read because it's applying to what I do, it's going to work. You just got to find out if you want to do it that bad. Because if you want to do it that bad, you're going to make it work.
Right.
So that's the tidbit I'll leave it with to piggyback off of you, Shay. Shane, for people that are starting, what is your little tidbit or advice for those people that are going to get started? And I'll say direct it towards your relationship in the field with your role.
The biggest thing that helped me and Shay communicate together and keep organized was creating lists. So we started taking advantage of like Google Sheets because it's free and we can both pull it up on our phone or on our laptop. And, listing things out, putting dates on it, we used to estimate the cost and write the final cost. Like we were just tracking all this information so we could learn from it once we were done. Like early on, we said, okay, we estimate that this renovation will cost X amount. And then we could pull up the final amount, see where we were wrong, see where we did the work versus where we outsourced it. And just like we're taking notes along the way. So I would say like note taking and making lists is incredible because someone like Shay who has all that energy and has the right idea has to write it down. Like write it down because then we can come back and improve on it, Or like if you're thinking of all these things in the middle of the night, just make a list so you're not like just up like right about it, List it out. We'll tackle it, when it's appropriate. So it turns into like that compartmentalization we were talking about.
Yeah.
Managing your time. Just managing your time, managing your effort.
Yeah. Because there's going to be a part, and you guys are literally in the thick of it, where you move from working in your business to working on your business. And right now you guys are on that threshold.
Yes,
which is
we are.
a super weird, awkward moment where you're like, but I'm used to doing that, but you don't do it anymore. You took the hat off. And I'm forgetting the book I read where like when you start it, you're wearing every hat, and he drew out an image where he had like 15 hats on. And every time he delegated, he took a hat off. And once you take the hat off, you take the hat off. It's E-Myth. I think that's what it was. But he wrote it on a list. E-Myth Revisited.
Oh, okay.
He talks about the technician, he breaks it into 3 pools. But he writes out, you write out what are your roles in the company. And as you delegate, you cross out those roles. But when you cross out the roles, you've got to cross them out. It's not you anymore. You have to rely on who you delegate to. Right. But the ones you have, those are still your roles until you delegate them. In that whole delegating, you flip from working in your business to on your business. And it is way different. It is totally, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it way differently. It's an awkward little transition, but once you can manage that and accept that, hey, we've gotten bigger, my company needs me here, and then you focus on that, the anxiety goes down, the pressure goes down, your trust in other people go up, and things start going smoother. So if there's a book, I guess E-Myth would be one that would be another one to pick up. Shane, for you, get the wiring, get the plumbing, that one.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a good one.
Oh,
yeah. Otherwise, I appreciate your time. We're going to have you guys back again, but from what I hear from Natasha, it's got to be in 2023. So we're going to have a little bit of a break, but in 2023, we're going to come back, and I want to see where from basically mid-year, where you guys take it to start out 2023.
Yeah, we'll be excited to come back. We're excited to grow and get some of these projects under our belt. We're going into the busy season right now. So it'll be excited to see what we can accomplish in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Keep pushing, hit those goals, and we'll talk to you in early 2023. It seems weird to say, but
It is. Oh my gosh, these years go by so fast.
all right.
Natasha.
Have a
Thanks,
good
Marcus.
Friday. Have a good weekend. We
Good
will talk
weekend.
to you too soon. Good luck. Keep
You
going.
too. Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful weekend. See you later.
See you guys.